how Apple can learn from Microsoft and Disney. So we're going to be talking about three major players here: Apple, Microsoft, and Disney. And I like what Microsoft and Disney are doing. Apple, not so much. So we're going to look at a few things. We're going to look at acquisitions, design thinking, innovation, and we're just going to look at how all this kind of comes to play. In terms of Apple, what's interesting is I would say they're not being innovative. I would say their designs have sort of kind of sat still. As we're seeing innovations from other companies, we're not seeing so much from Apple. They're not really trying to change the game. They're playing it safe. And that's both in terms of their designs, but also in terms of their acquisitions. So Disney, in terms of acquisitions, has done quite well. They've acquired Marvel, they've acquired Star Wars, and look what's happened. They've grown tremendously from those brands. It was a fantastic strategic play by Disney. And it's basically enhanced their brand to the point where it's one of the best. Apple has not really acquired anything significant other than Beats, the headphone company. But if I look at the Apple car, oh wait, there is no Apple car. I'm thinking that could have been an opportunity for them. And maybe they're still working on it. Maybe they're into it right now. They're working on it. They've got something secret that's in the works. But they did spend a lot of money on car development. So I'm wondering what's happened there. But the thing is, they're trying to change the game. But with the amount of cash flow they have, which is, I think, the best in the world in terms of cash flow, they've got all this cash that's just sitting. And they could go along and just buy a company like Tesla, right? They could buy that company, and a company that is very much aligned with Apple's design approach, their design thinking style, at least historically. And if I look at innovation, well, Tesla's at the forefront, and I'm thinking, instead of Apple just focusing on the talent that they have in their office, imagine if they had the Tesla employees. And then I look at also SpaceX as a potential sort of company. Now, maybe they're not for sale, but Tesla for sure would be an opportunity to be under the Apple brand. That would take away all the learning curves, and it would also be a fantastic strategic play. It would take Tesla to the next level as well, because I know Tesla could do even better. That just seems like an acquisition that would be a no-brainer in terms of overall brand alignment between two companies. You're looking at two very similar styles. And the talent at Tesla, I would say, is arguably better than the talent at Apple now. So they need to look at that. I mean, maybe the offer's already been out there. Maybe Elon Musk rejected it. But if not, that should be a push for Apple if they want to get into the game of the next level of technology. In terms of Microsoft, they've recently released a few products from their event this October, and what's interesting is they had several folding devices, folding tablet, folding phone. Apple hasn't come out with any folding anything, and we've had this folding technology for almost a year, maybe a little bit longer than a year now. And Samsung came out with their folding phone, and Apple hasn't come out with anything like this. And it's a little bit odd to see these companies coming out with innovative styles before Apple. So it's a little bit concerning that they're not looking at designs of things. And I'd also argue that these Microsoft laptops that are coming out and these tablets that are coming out are getting better than what Apple's coming out with. Now, I'd say the iPad is a very good product. It's one of the best products that Apple has. They seem to have that market locked down. that tablet market. They own the iPad market. But if you look at the iPad, it hasn't really changed much since day one. It's been the same slab. You pick it up, and it's a one piece of material. So they haven't really done too much in the way of changing that. But you've got Microsoft over here coming out with a folding tablet. It's very interesting. And they also have a number of other things that they're at the forefront of, including AI, Microsoft AI, and just a lot of different innovations that Apple's really not talking about. Now, it all comes down to, if you look at the CEOs, like I look at this Bob Iger, he seems to be like a really hard-nosed kind of individual from Brooklyn. So he's been making acquisitions. He's got that sort of CEO, he has the CEO mentality of growing a business. Like, he really seems to understand it. And he worked his way up through the company, and he seems like he's got it. He's got the mojo to be a CEO. And then you have Mr. Nadella in Microsoft, who seems to be really good with software and cloud solutions, and he just seems to be running the company to the next level, right? To the next future. So he's doing a great job. And it shows in the stock price of Microsoft that they've really taken off over the last few years. So you got two CEOs that are doing a great job. And then Apple, not quite to the same level since Steve Jobs passed away. I just don't see Tim Cook really running the company to the next level, because they should be like at the level of Amazon these days. I think Amazon's really a good benchmark to look at. But Apple hasn't really come out with anything earth-shattering. And I feel like by now something would have happened. I mean, we've had 8 years since Steve Jobs, and not anything that's really blown people away. That being said, Apple's doing just fine. They seem to be handling things quite well. They're obviously doing well, but that's because they have loyal customers, and these customers have been with them for years and years and years. And what Apple has is a very fantastic brand, and a very strong brand. And it's so powerful, I'd say it's still better than Microsoft's brand. And if you look at technology, Apple's still got it, especially with phones. They really have this loyal following. And that's obviously what they're banking on. They have this ecosystem. So they're just continuing to focus on their ecosystem. But if they want to get more and more people to stick with them and to come over to their brand, they need to come up with something that's attention worthy, right? Because, well, you have all these Android phones that are coming out, and they're intriguing. Like, people are leaving Apple to check out these Android phones. It makes sense, because they're doing things that Apple hasn't. So, I mean, that's what I look at is, how can you learn from Microsoft and Disney? Well, look at acquisitions. Microsoft also landed LinkedIn. They bought LinkedIn, and that's been great, because you're talking about a professional network that Microsoft now owns, and that data is tremendously valuable because they can market to those professionals. Like, it has a tremendous value. It was a good purchase, and it fits very well under the Microsoft name. So if you look at any top-notch innovative companies, what kind of innovative companies would fit in under Apple's brand? I mean, those should be the companies that Apple looks at buying to help accelerate innovation or help get to that next level. That's what they need to look at. So in terms of acquisitions, that's obviously something Apple should be doing more of. And then Disney, of course, with the Marvel, Star Wars, like, it's just amazing. And then just the overall innovation, not so much innovation in Disney, but Microsoft, absolutely. You've got all these new hardware products that are just, they look better than Apple. So you have to compete with that. Those are some things that you need to maybe look at and say, okay, how can we take it to the next level? Okay, that's all I've got for today. Thanks for tuning in.